We're in New York City, and I'm here with Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, who's running for a congressional seat in Florida.
Yes. District 22.
District 22. Book it. You're going to be speaking tomorrow. What are you speaking about?
Yes, I'll be speaking tomorrow. There's the Reclaiming American Liberties conference that's being held right here at the Union League Club.
I was wondering, you were saying some things to me, which is why I insisted upon turning the camera on. Because, first of all, much of what you say is original.
Yes, I try.
It's not regurgitated palp. I think it clearly reflects the sentiment that we're seeing in the revolutionary movement, which the left has, deemed tea parties or teabaggers, town hallers. But when I was asking you about special interests, and you were saying, no way would you even get involved.
Well, I think the most important thing, Pamela, what we talked about, is that the people now have the opportunity to raise up their own representatives. The people need to be going out there and finding candidates that have the right type of principled leadership that they can support and get behind. I take a lot of pride when you look at my FEC report, you see individuals, and you see individuals donating to our campaign, because when I go to Washington, D.C., I want to be the voice of those people and not the voice of the special interests, and definitely not the voice of my own interests. And I think that's what we have to reestablish, a connection between folks going to Washington, D.C. who are truly going to serve the American people. And the best way to do that is to support a candidate that you want to see up there. And I hope that people will go to our website, Alan West for Congress, and understand that it's a strategic perspective, that even though I'm a direct representative of the folks down in South Florida of Congressional District 22, I can still be a great voice for all Americans.
So, how much support are you getting from the RNC? I mean, clearly you reflect the voice of the people. It's obvious. And when I hear you talk about your FEC documents, I went through thousands and thousands of pages of Obama's, and I saw so many foreign contributions. I saw it was so ghastly. So it must be very refreshing to see, Mom, Pa, and Joe.
It is fantastic when you look all across the country. And, people send in, $10 here or $20. It means a whole lot to me, because that's them showing, no matter what the amount is, that they are putting their faith, trust, and confidence in me. And when you talk about the RNC, I think that you saw here in New York with that 23rd Congressional District special election, there is a confusion within the Republican Party as far as what is their fundamental message, which way do they really want to go as we head into this 2010 election. And I think that when you see the chairman of the party, that is Michael Steele, that is out there promoting a book and getting paid for speaking engagements, he should be locked up in a room with butcher paper and whiteboards all over the place, come up with a strategic vision to win these 40 to 45 seats. But instead, you saw him talk about on the Handy Show how he didn't think we were going to win back the majority. Then when he caught some heat for that, then he comes back on Chris Wallace this past Sunday and starts talking about how we're going to have this great sweeping victory. You can't have that type of confusion from the guy who's supposed to be the leader of your party.
I'm no Michael Steele fan, but wait a minute. I need to understand this. You best represent, at least in my mind, and this is all I do 24/7, 365, you best represent the principled, rugged individualism that defines this country. You are exactly what our founding fathers had in mind when they wrote
Thank you.
I mean that. I'm not, this is not, I'd be incapable of saying it if it weren't so. And I want to know that the RNC did not back you in the last election, and still you got what percentage of the vote?
45.3%
with no support.
No state, no national support. So
so here you got 45%, and here we are coming into really one of the hottest years. I mean, it's really, the stakes couldn't be higher. And you're telling me that they are not banging down your door?
Well, the thing, I'm on their list, and I guess they're big with saying, you're on the radar, you're on this, you're on that list.
What does that even mean?
Well, I don't know, and I'm not. See, that's the other thing, that a lot of people ask me this, but I really don't care, because the thing is, I am not a cheerleader for a party. I'm not a cheerleader for an individual. I'm a cheerleader for this country, and I'm a cheerleader for the Constitution, and I'm a cheerleader for the American people. And so if the RNC or any of the entities that are coming out of Washington, D.C. never lift a finger for me, it doesn't mean a hill of beans to me, because I continue to do what I'm doing, because on the 31st of July, 1982, I took an oath. And that oath was to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And as I say all the time, there is no statute of limitations on that oath. So the Republican Party of Florida, if they don't come around to support me, if the Republican National Committee or the National Republican Congressional Committee never support me, it does not matter.
I have to say something. You know, I met you here at this lovely, I don't know how many centuries old institution.
1863 was when the Union League Club was first established.
And when we got here, there was a collation going on that I don't know if you knew about. I know I didn't know about.
Yeah, I knew that they were having a veterans ceremony, a dinner tonight.
So we come into this place, and there's a bunch of lovely old gentlemen, and they all have this enormously colorful breast of gold.
Yeah, the medals. Yeah.
And the medals.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, I was so moved as we were sitting here chatting, how each one came over to Alan. There was a camaraderie, there was a brotherhood of men. I mean, of mutual respect, to use Obama's word, but to mean it.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Well, that's that band of brother and sisterhood that you have amongst those people that have been willing to sacrifice their lives for this country. And I guarantee you, you know, some of those men that were in there, they've lost buddies.
Oh, for sure.
And in this fight to make sure that this republic continues on. And that's something that you have to reestablish in Washington, D.C. People that have put their lives on the line for this country, so that when they stand there and they give speeches in the Senate floor or the House floor, or in the White House, they're giving speeches that come from the heart because they know what it means to have been in situations where it was all or nothing, and maybe the person next to you lost their life.
Yeah.
And that's why you take off one uniform and you put on the suit and tie.
Well, you still look like you're wearing a uniform, even in your fancy suit and tie.
It's still about service to this country. I'll give you a great example. You know, that video from YouTube that's out there.
That went to millions.
Yeah, it's got over...
But we knew him first.
It's got over 1.7 million. Now, you think about it. If every person that went to visit and to see that video gave $10,
Oh, forget it.
then the people had put me in the position.
You too could be running for president of the world. Listen, I got to ask you something. So you're going to get in. Okay, we're going to make it happen. You're going to get in. What do you want to do?
Well, I think one of the first things you have to do is look at what type of damage you will have to turn around in those first 90 days to 120 days in 2011. Because as you saw with Harry Reid, they tried to put in a clause whereby this health care legislation, if it went through and was signed into law, that you would not be able to come back and reverse it.
Right.
So that's one of the things we have to look at. You know, how do we put the finger in the dike to stop some of the flood damage? But then also we've got to look at identifying this enemy and clearly understanding how at the strategic level, coming out of Washington, D.C., how do we fight against this Islamic totalitarianism and this state-sponsored terrorism? Because, you know, if I were to get onto the House Armed Services Committee, the first question that I will ask a General Petraeus or a Secretary Gates, who do you think we're fighting? And if they turn around and tell me, well, we're fighting Taliban and Al-Qaeda, I would say, you guys probably shouldn't be in this position that you're in right now, because you don't understand.
It's a dream, girls. It's a dream.
So I think that's the most important thing that I can bring to Washington, D.C., having been on that.
Is anybody doing that now? Is there anybody who has even the most basic understanding of who the enemy is?
I don't think they do. And even if they do, I mean, you see the recalcitrance of not wanting to declare who this enemy is. You have what happened in Fort Hood, Texas. You have the North Carolina cell that was broken. You have what happened in Dallas. You have the Christmas
Balls bomber.
And no one wants to come out and say, we are fighting against an Islamic ideology that is radicalized and is aiming toward destroying this United States of America. You're fighting against an ideology that is the antithesis of what we believe in: individual rights and freedoms, liberty, the Sharia law. You break that down. It has nothing to do with a constitutional republic in which we live. And Muammar Gaddafi said last summer that Islam will overtake the West without firing a single shot, which means that they believe they can infiltrate in, they can mask this movement that they have, this theopolitical belief system as a religion, use our constitutional liberty, First Amendment, and then take us down. So you have to have people that have the courage and conviction that will stand up there and say that. And I can break it down all the way back to the 7th century. And I understand this enemy. And we've got to have leaders at the strategic level that understand it. So we set the conditions for the soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines at the tactical level to win this fight.
You gotta win.
Well,
You gotta win, Alan.
well, I want to win for the people out there.